Howdy friends, welcome to Grow and Glow, the channel where we can grow together. Now today I'm going to talk about one of my favourite little power pack veggies to grow in the garden, the humble tomato. If you want to learn how you can easily grow these for yourself at home, stick around. Tomatoes are a great beginner friendly vegetable to start growing. They don't take a lot of space. It doesn't matter if you're not too much of a green thumb, they're very forgiving. A friend of mine who wanted to start growing veggies in their own garden but swore that they would kill a cactus had success growing this with the method I'll show you in this video. So if you're new to gardening or the growing game, suggest giving tomatoes a go and hang around to the end of this video where I'll show you some of my favourite recipes. If you follow this guide, you'll be in an abundance of tomatoes in no time, so you're going to need some recipes to get through them all. Humans have been cultivating tomatoes for a long time, and because of this, there's a lot of different varieties, colours, shapes and flavours. There's a tomato out there to suit every palate. They're also jam-packed with vitamins A, C and K, as well as potassium and fibre, so they're quite a powerful little packet. Before you plant your tomatoes, you need to determine where you're going to put them. You can either sow them directly into a garden bed, or start them in pot plants like this and transplant them later. Alternatively, if you're restricted for growing space and you have a larger pot plant, they'll do just fine in that as well. Wherever you put them, you want to make sure that they have full sun. The more sun, the better. These guys can handle it hot, and they like at least 8 hours of full sun per day to grow to their full potential. They do slow down considerably in cooler climates, and I'd suggest planting them after the last frost or chill of the season of winter. They grow well all through spring and summer, and we're inundated at the farm over that period with an abundance of tomatoes. You can plant tomatoes in a variety of ways. This is only one method. Now, we've had great success doing this, to the point where we can't stop tomatoes growing in our garden. We're actually considering them a bit of a weed, but a welcome weed. Now, all you do, grab your tomato. For the sake of this video, it's a cherry tomato. Squeeze the seeds in. Bury it with a bit of dirt. And give it a bit of water. And then wait to see what happens. Planting tomatoes in the garden bed is no different. Take your tomato, squeeze in some of the seeds and try and spread it out a little bit. Give the tomato to the chooks, and then come back, bury them with dirt and water them in. Now over the next kind of 7 days to 2 weeks, these guys will start sprouting up. They might be a bit close together, and at that point you'll either need to separate them or just let them grow wild and let nature take over. Don't be too worried about having an aesthetically pleasing garden. Worry about what it can produce. This is a bed that's gone completely wild. These are all different tomato plants. Now, yes, technically it's probably a bit overcrowded, but these guys are doing just fine. We've got millions of tomatoes on these guys. Now, we didn't actually plant these. They just sprung up from compost that we put on the garden bed at the start of spring. And this is what I mean. If you plant these guys once, you'll have them forever. Look at that, beautiful. So these guys are still a little whiles off. They will ripen off the vine, so you don't need to wait till they're too red. Like that guy will come off pretty easy. They're easy to pull off, they're pretty ready to go. Obviously colour's a good indication, but you can pick them somewhat greeny yellow and they will ripen to red tomatoes inside. Something to be mindful of when growing tomatoes is splitting. Splitting occurs when they get an overabundance of water. These guys came out of the garden the other day after a big rain. Now, it's important to note it's only for the aesthetic. It doesn't make the flavour any different. Here are some tomatoes that we've recently gotten from the garden. These guys were picked this morning, and these guys are about 3 days old. We're getting this volume of tomatoes roughly around every 7 to 10 days. So you see what I mean when I say, if you start growing these guys, you're going to need some recipes to get rid of them. You should now have enough info to start growing tomatoes at home by yourself. If you've got any questions or queries, chuck them in the comments and I'll try and get back to you to help as much as I can. But they are a very beginner-friendly plant to grow. I'd suggest just jumping and give it a go. Now, if you followed this guide, you'll soon be inundated with tomatoes, so you're going to need a couple of ways to use them. I'm going to give you one of my favourite breakfast meals that we use here on the farm to get rid of the cherry tomatoes that we're drowning in. Now, you might think it's extremely simple, but trust me, if you haven't tried it, try it first and then get back to me if you're disappointed. So all you're going to do is make sure that you've got some toast, put a good lob of butter in that once it comes out so it can start melting. Get yourself white pepper, salt. Now, cut these tomatoes, and arguably all tomatoes, with a serrated knife. It makes life a lot easier, trust me. And you can see some of these seeds are spilling out onto the chopping board. If you want, you can go right back out to the garden with them, put them back in a garden bed or a pot, start this whole process over again. Don't just need to wash them down the drain. Spread your butter. Make sure to get it evenly spread across the bit and be generous. It makes a lot of difference here. And then all you're going to do is put your tomatoes on top of that. Generously season with a bit of salt and white pepper. And there it is. That's it. Again, I know this is a simple recipe, but I implore you to give it a go. If you've had it before, you'll know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, trust me, it's got no right to be this good. Look at that. There's one happy boy. Well friends, that's it for today's video. I hope you learned something, and if you enjoyed this content and want to see more, please consider liking and subscribe so we can grow this channel and continue to grow together. We'll see you again soon.